The Home Affairs Minister, Dr. Motsoaledi, has told Parliament that police do not have to arrest immigrants or use discriminatory methods against foreign nationals to ascertain their status in the country. Motsoaledi added that foreign nationals do not always have to carry their documents, as police can access the 24-hour National Register. Minister Motsoaledi joins us now to explain his answer to Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs. Minister, thank you so much for joining us once again. Thank you for always availing yourself. Welcome to Newzroom Afrika. Yesterday, you and I were talking and got interrupted. You explained how you never gave instructions to police officers to stop and ask people about their identification status. Can you expand a little bit more on how the spot checks are meant to work? Does it mean foreign nationals need to constantly carry their documents?
Well, the statement I've released is quoting the Immigration Act number 13 of 2002. If you read it, it's not talking about foreign nationals. It says police have got a right to ask somebody to identify themselves as a citizen, as an asylum seeker, or as a refugee. And I then said this has been happening from 2002. It will be stupid for me to give police an instruction about the job, or law enforcement officers rather, about the job which they do every day, which they've been doing for the past 20 years. List of all immigration officers who do that on an everyday basis. If you put, let me take a simple example. Operation Ukaimulao, which is carried on in Gauteng, and you know about that, and immigration officers join them. How do they ascertain that somebody is illegal in the country without asking for documents? And how will they know at the roadblock when they stop you, whether you are a South African or not, without asking for documents? They do. But I am saying the Act said we don't have to carry physical documents. You can give an ID. Even South Africans are asked and they give IDs. That in 2010, when we were preparing for the 2010 World Cup, because we had to secure the country, a special vehicle was established, a 24-hour unit, which is doing this function, and is doing it every day. It is not only about foreign nationals inside the country. The 24-hour service, when a plane leaves anywhere in the world, anytime during a 24-hour period, that plane is supposed to send a list of passengers to that unit. And the unit checks through our systems whether there is somebody inside that plane who's undesirable, who is not supposed to be coming to South Africa because he's unwanted here. And we tell the plane not to bring them. Sometimes they take chances, they bring them, and we charge them 15,000 rand per every passenger they bring wrongly. And they must take that person back home at their own cost. That is one part of that system established in 2010. The second part is for any law enforcement officer in any part of the country to phone that center to ask that I've got a lady here called Motsoaledi. She said this is an ID number. Can you check if it is true? If it is not true, then they must help you get the actual documents. And if they can't get them, it's then that you get arrested. So the question I was responding to in Parliament, a member of Parliament said, there is a person who was arrested and locked in for the whole weekend, waiting for Home Affairs officials to identify that person the following, on Monday. And I said, it does not have to be that way. There's a legal way to do it, which is in the Act, which does not mean a person unnecessarily spending the whole weekend in jail to be identified. People can be identified on the spot because we have got an instrument to do so. Basically, that's what I was saying.
Why did it have to, pardon me, Minister, why did it have to get to that point where this matter is now being asked in Parliament about the time frame? Does it mean that officers are not aware of this device and that there is no will to use it?
Well, I think some police officers, immigration officers, that's their job because they are in Home Affairs. That Act, remember, is an Immigration Act in the Department of Home Affairs. I'm saying so because you may remember that in Diepsloot, there was a big story in the media about the police officer who asks somebody to name their elbow, other body parts, using various South African languages to check if it's South African. And I was also interviewed whether that's not apartheid. I said, no, that policeman was wrong. He didn't know there's a better way of doing it, which is provided for in the Act, which is legally. So if somebody was locked up, I can only conclude that that police officer did not know of the existence of this Act. I suspect even the member of parliament who asked the question did not know, because I have to explain to them how it works.
It's very concerning that there is no, there's no access. There isn't a wide spread information when it comes to knowing that there is this register and how it works. Now, in your efforts to overhaul the immigration system, how much investment are you now placing, Minister, on border control and security? One could essentially argue that expelling migrants who will simply walk back in a few weeks later is a futile exercise.
I deny that is concerning. That there's no known, people don't know the existence of this, of this instrument.
Yes.
I am informing you, the Act was passed in 2002. This instrument was just there to help, to take the Act forward, and it was 2010 World Cup. And I'm saying to you, all the law enforcement officers, Metro Police, South African Police Services, intelligence services, when they do these operations, that is what they use. And they've been using it from that time, as I'm saying. So if anybody doesn't know about it, it's not because it is something that is in hiding. It is not. Let me come to your question. You are asking whether...
Sorry, Minister. Are there enough of these devices to check? Because it just brings us back to the question that was asked in Parliament about why this person was in custody, in police custody for so long, when it could have simply been, a click of a button or whatever it is to just check or whether or not they're meant to be there.
At the moment, since 2010, it works by cell phone. You phone this 24-hour service, and you get people there. They are there for 24 hours, they're working shifts. You'll always find somebody. Then we said what you are trying to ask me about an instrument. There's no instrument that they have. They just phone. So we thought in order to make it even easier, we must give them a handheld instrument that gives them access to the National Population Register, the National Immigration Information System, and the Visa Adjudication System. At the moment, they access all those, and the movement control system, by the way, they access them by phoning the center, and the center will inform them. So we have just finalized the specifications. We are about to go out on tender to get a service provider to provide us with a handheld instrument. At the moment, the handheld instrument it's not there. But it does not mean that somebody must sleep in jail, because they could have just phoned the 24-hour center anytime during a period of 24 hours, whether it's Monday or whether it's Sunday or whether it's a weekend. It's a service that is always there.
Okay, sure, Minister. So just going back to the question I was asking you on your efforts to overhaul the immigration system, how much investment are you placing on border control and security? Because one could say that if you expel migrants who simply will walk back in a few weeks and be back in South Africa, it makes the entire exercise futile when it comes to trying to control the numbers and the legality of foreign nationals.
You are right. It was like that all the time and all the years. That is why NICOC, the National Intelligence Coordinating Committee, realized this when they were doing their intelligence estimate a decade ago, and they came with a concept of a border management authority, that we need to have a special authority whose job is to manage the borders, because our borders were not managed as they should be. And that's why Parliament had to sit down to enact an act, and so that we established the Border Management Authority. As you know, the authority now exists. We are working around the clock to make sure that come the 1st of April 2023, that is next year, the authority is a stand-alone entity in the Republic of South Africa, which is responsible for borders. At the moment, it's an incubated entity under the Department of Home Affairs. It's a branch under the Department of Home Affairs. It's going to be standalone. On the 14th of July, the 200 border guards we deployed there was just at the beginning, and Treasury understand that very well, We are working with them around the clock to make sure that at the beginning of the new financial year, we must get 600 more of these border guards. But there's a plan which has been given to Treasury, and Treasury understands very well the futility of getting people who are illegal in our country, send them away when they just come back again. So they are determined to help solve finance the Border Management Authority. And lastly, the Border Management Authority at the moment is controlled by a group of 10 ministers who have got an interest of what's happening at the borders. One of them is the Minister of Finance. He sits in our meetings and they report to him about what's happening on our borders and what we need. And every day we take a decision with him.
Now, Minister, you've extended the ZEP validity to 6 months to June of 2023, yet the Helen Suzman Foundation and the Zimbabwe Immigration Federation are proceeding with the court action against you over the scrapping of the permits. How is this case now evolving? What's your response?
Our extension had nothing to do with the case. I gave the reasons why there was an extension. We knew very well when we were extending that the case is still on, and of course we are preparing to defend ourselves. I don't know why anybody marries the extension to the court case. As far as I'm concerned, unless I don't understand the law, there's no relationship. I gave good reasons why we must extend up to June next year, and under no conditions did I ever imagine that somebody will stop going to court if they so wish. If they don't go to court, it will be their wish. It won't be because of the extension, as far as I'm concerned.
And very lastly and very quickly, there's a backlog in permit appeals for the asylum seekers and refugees. I mean, you addressed this matter in Parliament. Speaking about the pressure it puts on the system, there's also been complaints around how applications for highly skilled worker permits take forever, while the low-skill roles in various sectors are filled by non-South Africans, leaving questions on how low-skill applications are now processed faster while the skills are caught in a gridlock. How are you going to be tackling this, coupled with the backlog issue?
They are not related. The backlog issue is for asylum seekers, which is dealt with by a completely different group of people. And the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees have given us 143 million rand, which we are going to use over the next 4 years to hire 36 legally trained people. Because at the moment, the people who were dealing with that backlog were only 5. They are now going to be joined by 36 extra people who are legally trained. That is one part. The issue of visas is a very different one. The scarce skill visas, the work visas and all that, we work that with the Department of Employment and Labor. And I know last week when they were saying we are delaying the economy, visas have delayed, I actually wrote a letter to the president, explained to him, because a week after they said that, we had completed 604 corporate visas. These were corporate visas from companies like Mercedes-Benz, Mitsubishi, BMW, and many other companies that are investing in South Africa. We gave them. But I added once more, and I want to add again, all the countries I know of, even highly developed countries, after COVID-19, they had a backlog of visa applications. The U.S. itself, as I'm speaking, a week after they complained to the president about this delay of visas, I met the ambassador of the U.S. who told me they are going to announce a program to deal with the backlog of visas, but by December, they'll only have done half. They've got a backlog of more than 10,000 or so. And I know our own Solicitor General, the highest legal officer in the Department of Justice, has been invited to the U.S., and the embassy here told him that he can only come for an interview in 6 weeks' time, not to get a visa after 6 weeks, but to come and interview. That is how the backlog has affected the world. And I was complaining that I've got a feeling that we are being undermined as an African country, that when it happens to us, it's something that is out of this world. But when it happens all over the world, it's par for the course. It's what it should be. So the issue of delay of work visas and study visas and all that after COVID, it had happened to many countries, not only us, but we've dealt with it, and we're even going to finish even before some of the highly developed countries. Because as I said, a week after the French people complained to the president, complaining about investment and all that in the economy, were able to issue 604 visas. And France itself, by the way, has got a backlog, for your information.
Thank you so much, Minister. Always a pleasure speaking to you. Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, Home Affairs Minister, thank you for your time.